Hello, and welcome back once again to the Awakening Philosophy podcast. We are awakening a new understanding of philosophy, and we are... Is my music loud today? And we are understanding the true nature of philosophy in comparison with how philosophy is currently taught today. And just turn down the music a little bit. And to do that, we have to understand the nature of philosophy itself, and we've just got a fantastic definition in what we read last time. Philosophia, the love of wisdom. And wisdom is just being described as the second and third hypothesis, with these hypotheses being able to understand and rank the different levels of reality and the different levels of our own soul's development. So, to directly experience intelligence itself, or the brilliant light of pure being, the second hypothesis, that has been described as the most beautiful experience. Therefore, we will fall in love with it. We want to get back there. We want to integrate it as best we can, because it is also the model of our universe, the paradigm, the paradigmatic cause. The fact that it can serve as a paradigm is because it is understandable, the understandability of mind, the logos and its understanding, the third hypothesis. Therefore, to directly apprehend mind itself by turning around and experiencing mind with mind, that's called ousia, along with its understanding. That's the second and third hypothesis. That's what we call wisdom. Philosophy is a love of wisdom. Modern philosophy, what we learn in schools or on YouTube or on podcasts where they tell you to eat a monkey.
I don't want to eat a monkey.
Joe Rogan doesn't want to eat a monkey.
I don't want to eat a monkey.
That's what Socrates calls philodoxia, a love of opinion. Love of opinion. What we've been learning is that the different kinds of opinions or beliefs you can have can be categorized within that hierarchy of development leading up to wisdom. So you could say modern philosophy, or the misunderstanding of philosophy, is the love of ignorance or the love of our own personal beliefs. And that's what we see people using philosophy for today. How can I argue in a way that supports my own beliefs that I carry from childhood, that I don't even know I carry it sometimes, because I've never learnt how to surface and reflect upon them? That's also a third hypothesis functioning of wisdom or understanding, to be able to reflect on the cause of our problems, which turn out to be a set of false beliefs we carry about ourselves called the pathologos. While the understandability of reality and mind is the logos, the false beliefs we carry that are the cause of human problems are called the pathologos. So the difference between philosophy, true philosophy, and modern opinion about philosophy also reflects the very problems that we are facing as individuals, reflects the movement that we are here to make as individuals, and also reflects the nature of the problem of our whole society and species. Because the logos, mind, understanding, allows us to meet human needs, solve problems, bring us to our excellence, fulfill our purpose, whereas the thing that opposes that benefit and development is are our beliefs. So the difference between current understanding of the word philosophy or the misinterpretation of philosophy and true philosophy reflects the very essence of humanity's problem itself. Therefore, what we're learning is those stages of development leading to the second and third hypothesis, which we call wisdom. Where is my pen? What happened to my pen? All of those are lesser hypotheses we can understand. They all have their own way of thinking about reality. But so long as we are identified with them, they're all expressions of the fourth. Because the fourth is the level of belief. The beliefs that we carry about ourselves, our pathologos belief, that we believe because they are a physical world imitation of the model or the whole in mind. Therefore, the fourth hypothesis beliefs are believable because they are a reflection of the second hypothesis. And if our activity of mastering the logos is true philosophy and our human purpose, then we can understand our quest, the human quest, is simply a movement from the fourth to the third hypothesis. That's what we're seeing as a culmination of the book that we've been reading. Oh my goodness, what a banger. Now, what we're also seeing is this third hypothesis functioning, which is the purpose of us as human beings to learn in our experience in time, the highest activity, because understanding can happen in the physical world. The direct experience of mind, that's the model of understanding, happens in the non-physical world. Therefore, it's one of the two kinds of spiritual experiences, along with that which even transcends the eternal realm of mind. Isn't that interesting? We can demystify mysticality, mysticism. Make rational the spiritual. Isn't that interesting? So what we're seeing is this is also playing out in the dialogue Socrates is having with Jesus. We can therefore see that Socrates is engaging in the third hypothesis with Jesus because he's following the dialectic being the art of understanding. They are reflecting on Jesus's highest experience, which just so happens to be the second hypothesis, his peak experience. Socrates is using understanding in perhaps the highest possible way to reflect on such a peak experience, to reflect on it. And what we are learning is many people think this is the truth of reality because you cannot imagine a higher experience because it's by definition the greatest experience, the whole of all parts, experienced as bliss, divine luminosity, beauty itself. In fact, what we're learning is all of the ways of describing that experience is metaphysics and also theology, because theology is personifying those metaphysical aspects or forces. Now, that's another highlight of the difference between modern philosophy and real philosophy. The word that points to these aspects of divine illumination are called eidos. That word has been mistranslated in modern philosophy. You may have heard the term Plato's forms. That is a bastardization. That's a false interpretation. Because forms is a word from the physical world. The word is eidos, which means to behold. So many people go through college and then they leave and they think they're all smug and knowing. Oh, you hear Plato's forms, that's stupid. No, it's just that you have been taught a misinterpretation of the word eidos. It means to behold, because these are aspects that we behold in divine illumination. So Socrates is doing the third hypothesis on the second hypothesis with Jesus so he can reflect on its cause. Because he's pointing out this isn't the final stage. The cause of the greatest experience has to be beyond experience. If this circle points to self and this circle points to experience, no. Self and other. All experience is in this area here. So we're looking for the aspect of self that isn't, or the aspect of whole that isn't touched by part. The aspect of self that's not other. The aspect of one that's not many. Self. So, we're using this map to understand the functioning of Socrates and our own ideal functioning, because Socrates is the model of us, for us as philosophers. We're also recognizing, as we've been learning all the way through, that we have to also create a hypothesis for interpretation. When human beings are introduced to a new idea, it's not a matter of just climbing the ladder. Our false beliefs that we are identified with fight back, causing interpretation. And we're being asked to build a similar map of interpretation, or the pathologos counterattack. When we have a new idea, when we're exposed to a new idea or insight, the ideal would be to simply accept the new. But we start by rejecting that. That's not what I think. That's not what I learned. That's not what my mummy and daddy say. That's not what my preacher or minister says. That's not what my president says, etc., etc. Offering an alternative? Well, okay, maybe, but here is a better way of understanding it. Says people who are tied to their problems. I was engaged in a conversation recently where I think it was Keegan Teagan, this guy.
This guy had to admit that the people in his life who helped convince him to be a conservative in the first place, parents, clergy, other authority figures, were wrong. Not only was wrong, but lied to him, and that he fell for it. All of that takes so much courage and courage.
Keegan Teagan was offering an understanding of the fact that there is no extreme left, because the harmful actions are, by definition, conservative or right-wing, conserving our old beliefs. And the idea of progressivism is to help people and benefit people. However, to justify their loyalty to conservatism, Nazism, fascism, MAGA, a lot of right-wingers will pretend that there is such a thing as the extreme left. Look at them. They want everyone to get healthcare. They want no one to die in wars. What an extreme position. Of course, that's not how they're understanding the progressive side of humanity. They seem to think, oh no, the people who are right-wing fascists call themselves socialists like Hitler, call themselves communists. Therefore, because they called themselves that name, then we'll believe them and we'll pretend that being good to people is actually bad when you're extremely good. Now, that's a true understanding. It also reflects what we're seeing in the nature of the logos, which would be true progressivism, and the nature of conservatism or right wing is to identify and conserve the pathologos false beliefs from childhood that are the cause of human harm. But instead of listening, that person offered his alternative. No, here's my belief. My belief is that the communists killed lots of people, therefore, being left-wing or progressive can be just as extreme. And of course, the point of the video is that's not progressivism. That's just tyrants or right-wing conservatism calling themselves left to lie to people. They're lying. Yes, Hitler called himself socialist because he was lying. Because that's the grift. Everyone wants progressivism, everyone wants the logos, but the small amount of people who want to oppress others because they're imitating their family pathologos, their parental teachers, have to lie to make their bad opinions appear good. So that's an offering of an alternative system of belief. No, I believe this, they will say. Rejecting, so it's a kind of rejecting of the new, but at least they're paying attention. Now this idea that the liars lie, right wingers lie, they might adapt that to their old beliefs. Oh, okay, sure, okay, they lie, but I can still keep my old beliefs that right and left are just two sides of the same coin, or they're both equally valid opinions. Harming, killing, oppressing people is just the same as the left wing who want to help people and make life good and affordable. Because, the way they do it can be a bad thing. They'll try and kill all of us the way we want to kill all of you. Notice, they're still keeping their old beliefs. We kill people, so maybe they do as well. But this idea of them wanting to help people, they're trying to adapt that in a way that suits their old beliefs. Second, trying to unify the old with the new. Maybe we can all live side by side. Maybe this idea of an understandable society based on reason and evidence, solving human problems caused by belief, can coexist with all of those beliefs that function in opposition to reason and evidence. Us versus them, Jews versus Muslims, Protestants, Jews versus Palestinians, Catholics versus Protestants. Maybe we can still keep that, the cause of division, harm, and suffering, along with an embracing of understanding. Now, obviously, that's stupid because one's bad and one's good. Finally, accepting the new. Notice, 4 stages of development leading to the ideal. We can also have people who come along and reject each of these. So 4 kinds of interpretations that are an attempt to save your old belief, leading to the ideal, accepting the new truth or insight. And also you could have 4 other positions that are those that reject the rejectors. Those that reject people offering their alternatives. Those that reject the adapters. Those that reject the both sideses. Giving us 1 ideal, 4 positive, not positive in a good sense, but positive in the sense that they are doing something affirmative. They're acting in the affirmative. And 4 acting in the opposition. To do with interpretation. Therefore, that's something that we can make ourselves. To add to the hypotheses of Parmenides, which also has its single ideal, the first hypothesis, 4 affirmatives. This is if the logo or the self exists. Its appearance, its experience, its functioning, its appearance in the physical world, and its rejection by those in the physical world. So the 4 affirmatives, these 2 being wisdom, as we've just defined, the love of this being philosophy, And of course, these two being ignorance, the cause of human savagery, harm, injustice, problems. And then we can expand that out to include the 4 possible positions that are rejections of these 4 here. For example, those in the 5th hypothesis say there's only the physical world of parts. There is no mind, there is no logos, there is a mind and self perhaps, but we can only participate in physical world activities. The 9th hypothesis is a position that even physical world activities don't exist or are meaningless. Nihilism. One particular position that I've heard discussed recently is because there is the American Jewish cabal is trying to start a war against Iran. And of course, we know that they're obviously doing it for their imperialist, sadistic purposes to maintain the power and of the billionaire Epstein class, and to subjugate humanity and to steal their resources, of course. But the way they're trying to justify it is, well, we are the good guys and they are the bad guys. Look at this bad leader in Iran. Therefore, if he's bad, we must be good. Therefore, you either support our invasion and mass murdering. I think the death toll is 100 innocent girls in the girls' school, the all-girls primary school that was bombed by America and Israel. Just murdered 100 innocent children. You either support that, or you support the bad guys. It's one or the other. You support the tyrant or their unjust system, or you support murdering all of them. Which of the two is it? Same thing with the justification of Iraq's invasion. You either support Americans' murdering of millions of people and theft, or you hate America. Which of the two is it? 7th hypothesis functioning. Us versus them. Okay. So, this is the thing. 7th hypothesis. Notice, if this is a rejection of the parts of the physical world, not even they exist. There's no meaningful activity we can engage in. If this is the rejection of the whole, in other words, there are parts, but there are only parts. There are only physical things, so materialism, often reductionism too, because reductionism means to reduce anything meaningful to its smallest parts. 8th hypothesis. 7th hypothesis thinks that there are principles, so you're in the realm of mind. There are forces. There is an activity of mind, only it's a rejection of the logos. So the things that categorize the 3rd hypothesis, providence, intelligent care, meaning, there is a meaningful unfolding of what we experience in the theater of time. The frame by frame movement that we experience as the passage of time in the physical world, there's a meaning behind it that's providential. Problems are understandable. That's the 3rd hypothesis. Therefore, what we've been saying is our movement from the 4th into the 3rd is to learn the art of 3rd hypothesis, dialectical understanding, because that's what solves problems. 7th hypothesis is a rejection of that. There's no solving of problems. There's no meaningful reason for us to have the things that are unfolding in our lives. But there is a principle. So what's the principle therefore? Notice, for there to be a meaningful unfolding of principles, it requires this Venn diagram we have. Notice the forces of whole and part, same and different, like and unlike, out of time and in time, rest and motion, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, missing one, unlimit and limit. And of course, there are other ones like self and other, one and many, even more primary. All of these things, greater and lesser. For there to be a meaningful unfoldment, there has to be a kind of hierarchy, as expressed with each of these terms in this Venn diagram, whole and part. And unfolding from a greater whole of self or mind into the parts we see in the physical world. That's the third hypothesis. That's our ideal as human beings. Our state of mind needs to be of the whole. Our state of self has to be of the whole that is even greater than the whole of parts. While our functioning in time has to be from that whole, from the whole to the parts. That's our ideal. That's the third hypothesis. That's the new philosophers, as Socrates has been calling us, if we pull this stunt off. Seventh hypothesis rejects that. There are still principles, but it's not a meaningful intelligence helping us remove our ignorance. It's a equal, hot and cold, survival of the fittest, your team versus my team, good guys versus bad guys, angels versus demons, good versus evil. Therefore, no meaning. The earth is a constant battleground between the forces of life and death, good and evil. Your belief, my belief. Therefore, if you are looking at any of the interviews of the Israeli state that are doing a genocide and are, behind this war and this murder of innocent Iranian children, they are smug as they lie. Because all of the appealing to higher principles of no hypocrisy, or the opposite of hypocrisy, universal principles of care, of human dignity, of justice, of fairness, this is an appeal to the third hypothesis, but the sorts of people who have positions of leadership in our current age, particularly in the American and Israeli offices of murder, political officers, are seventh hypothesis thinkers, and of course, those who support them. The ones who are saying, oh, well, you either support us killing those children or you support the Iranian regime. Because it's a good guys versus bad guys, us versus them. And anyone who tries to reason with them is asking them to participate in third hypothesis functioning. Principles, integrity, equality, human dignity, reason, solving problems through understanding. The reason why these jerks are so smug when they lie to our faces is because their whole worldview is the seventh hypothesis, which is in direct opposition. You guys are idiots. There is no integrity. I got to this position by killing and lying my way to the top, by smiling as we've murdered millions of, or hundreds of thousands of Palestinian innocent children. There is no meaning. There is no purpose. Why would a world like this reward someone as unjust as me, someone as sick as me? Therefore, we have to recognize as human beings that there are these different stages of psychic development. You can't ask someone like these murderous people in the seventh hypothesis to talk about principles, because that's not in their worldview. They're not capable. Just like you can't ask your crazy Aunt Mary to do surgery. That medical understanding of the ideal isn't in her wheelhouse unless she's a doctor. There's certain things that have to qualify you. Currently, the qualification for rulership is opposition to benefit, because the people ruling are fourth hypothesis groups of belief-based people, and they function in opposition to truth, opposition to understanding. That's the nature of belief. So we can recognize that the people who support warmongers are often seventh hypothesis people. Us versus them. If you don't support Americans killing millions of innocent Iraqi children, then you must be supporting the bad guys. One of two forces. And any talk about understanding problems is third hypothesis, which the seventh is in opposition to by definition. This is important for us to see. So, while the seventh hypothesis gives us an understanding of that worldview, if someone is identified with it, they take it literally, it's the height of their functioning, then it is also an expression of the fourth hypothesis. Because there is some false belief that they are carrying as their self-identity tied to this way of functioning. That's our pathologos belief. So we can see any of these positions under the fourth hypothesis can become a fourth hypothesis, pathologos, false belief, identification. That is the cause of people's inability to learn and progress and benefit. Therefore, just as you have to know the ideal of the human body and understand its parts to be able to function in a beneficial way, so too we can understand the principle for leadership, either in any sort of position in society, has to be a knowledge of the second and an understanding of the third. Currently, we are facing mass injustice because our current leaders, we do not have a standard. It's in these lesser hypotheses, categorized in this current age by fourth hypothesis belief-based groups, conservatisms and religionisms. Now we also see this playing out in the conversation with Jesus. He has had a second hypothesis experience. Socrates is asking him to relate to it in third hypothesis understanding. It's because while it's the greatest experience, it has a cause. So that Jesus can go from the second to the first. But that little aside we did on interpretation, when someone is being asked to relate to a new idea beyond their current level, they go through those stages of interpretation. That's what Jesus is doing. And we are seeing that his functioning when he is blocked is fourth hypothesis. He's talking about his beliefs. I am a zealot. You are the Ulysses and the Pharisees. I am this team. I am Team Zealot. I have this belief. Our beliefs are better beliefs. You believe in this God, I believe in this God. It's all belief crap. And it's all division. It's all division. We can never come together. We can never come to an agreement. If the nature of human beings' opposition to new truth are our old beliefs, we can understand this as a principle. Anyone who is being asked to go to a higher level and isn't in that state of accepting a new truth, being open to it rationally with curiosity and openness, they will be, by definition, undermining third hypothesis logos and retreating into their fourth hypothesis pathologos. Remember, these two are wisdom, these two are ignorance. So there'll be characteristics that will be universal. They will abandon their understanding. As Jesus has been doing, he's rejecting all of the conclusions he's come to. He's even rejecting the method of dialectic, the method of understanding. Everything is wrong. Just like the leaders of our current world. They're always killing. They're even killing their own children, their own people. Why do our leadership even impoverish and kill their own people? Why have there been more people in the history of humanity killed by their own government in peacetime than by other groups in war? Because fourth hypothesis belief is defined by conflict. It's its nature. As we've seen before. Earlier in the text, that bangs so hard. Bangs so hard. As we've just described, the nature of understanding is to have your state of mind as a whole, to function providentially to the parts, and equally your state of mind unlimited, out of time, at rest, like itself, the same as itself, and you providentially, intelligence and care, function to peoples as parts, helping them address their differences, helping them remove their limits. This functioning happens in time, therefore the need for a physical reincarnation to learn the art of understanding, to learn the dialectic. Belief is you identify with the lesser. We are the limits. We have to do this and we can't do this. These are the 10 commandments. These are the magical Mormon underpants. This is the only this is the only sexual thing we can do. It's soaking in our Mormon underpants.
They're like a goon. They're a gooner.
They're a gooner.
Gooners.
Gooners. And they function, again, in opposition or in conflict with the whole. That's the savage nature of human ignorance that we can trace back to our early evolution as cavemen, tribes who identify with the tribe, blind loyalty to the leader of the tribe, and everything different is bad. That's what is being used by fascists. We have to kill the Palestinians because they're different. In America, we have to kill the immigrants because they're different, because they are not like our group. They're not like our cave tribe. They're different, and everything different is bad and scary. That's the nature of human ignorance and savagery. Therefore, while that is playing out within our society until we wake up to our purpose and the logos, that also will play out in our conversations. Because if you're following the logos of the dialectic and someone is triggered, they will retreat into their own kind of belief. Because that's our problem. Those are the two forces. That's all we've got to understand. Logos and pathologos. That's it. Understanding and belief. That's it. Third and fourth. That's it. That's it. That's the whole thing. So if someone's being triggered, they will undermine the conclusions even the methodology. By the way, that was Socrates' trial. Socrates was put on trial, eventually murdered by the state for using a strange method that made the weaker argument seem stronger. Reasoning, understanding, dialectic. Bullshit. But notice, their rejection of the third and its methodology, their only solution was kill the bastard. So then we say,
That's weird that you think that. Look at this broad.
that's a bit.
Jesus Christ, Emma, this is not Opie and Anthony or whatever.
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting wrong. You're like literally suck my dick, dude.
Yeah, these guys can do that, literally. Because that's the only solution offered by believers. That's why every single conservative party, leadership, president, all they offer is death and destruction. That's all they can offer, because that's the functioning of belief. Notice, Netanyahu, who does he appeal to? We are the Jewish people. He appeals to believers. Trump, who does he appeal to? Christians, believers. They try to appeal to a base of believers who can't understand because they've been brainwashed from a young age to oppose understanding. And all they can do is harm. Therefore, in a conversation, if you are engaged in understanding and somebody is ready to take or offered, invited to take a stage from where they're at to the next stage, and they hit a block, it's very easy to see what they will do. They will retreat from understanding into their beliefs. They will lean on their beliefs. Everything they say will be in opposition to understanding, and all they can offer is conflict, division. Always the case. Always the case. That's why we want to try and create the conditions for our A state of mind. Open, curious, loving of understanding, using out analogies, having fun. And we want to avoid the B state of mind, the triggered state of mind. Now, that doesn't mean when by triggered, I don't mean being angry. You can be angry at injustice. Often these people who are triggered try and say, oh, I've won the argument. Why? You've just been an asshole. Shouldn't say that. Assholes are important. You've just been a jerk, a jabroni. No, but I've made you mad. Therefore I win. I trolled you. Bullshit. That's not how you win an argument. So by triggered, I don't mean in that sense that you have an emotion. That's fucking stupid. I mean a rejection of reason, reflection, and understanding to find truth, and instead a retreat into personal abuse. So then we say,
I don't know if you know this, but like weird dudes exist everywhere.
Weird dudes exist
Jesus.
everywhere.
Jesus Christ, Emma.
You've been a bad little girl and you're getting a vigorous spanking right now?
Brain rot escalates.
That will always happen. Our job, therefore, is to navigate it when we fall into it ourselves. How can we follow the logos, recognize when we fall out of the logos, take notes about our state of mind, our functioning, the words that we use, the thoughts that we use, to uncover, because those notes about our state of mind and our words or logos, our ousia, our logos, our Aphrodite, our Apollo, in the negative sense, give us clues that we use in midwifery to uncover our own unsuspected false image of the self that we identify with, that it's our job as human beings to surface and address. So it's a win-win.
It's a win-win.
Because even when we're triggered, we get clues to solve our problem. So long as we recognize it. When we are opposing the logos, when we're opposing a friendly, rational, dialectic based conversation, we are in the fourth. But it's clues to solve the problem.
It's a win-win-win-win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win because we get clues, and then we can go back into the conversation and keep going. Or if we can't, we do some midwifery. We maybe reflect on it if that block's too hard to overcome. Of course, there are other conditions, like maybe someone is really, really triggered, and you might need to bring in a third person. You might want to do some dream analysis. You might want to take a break and come back to it. It really depends on you. Depends on how fast you want to move towards your goal. As Socrates says, you can move quickly like a thief. You don't have to be a lumbering paladin or warrior. You can be a quick-moving assassin class on the hero's journey. And that's what we've been seeing in the text. Third hypothesis reasoning about the second hypothesis state of mind. So Jesus could possibly be asked to move into the first, but he is retreating into his problem state, fourth hypothesis, his beliefs. See? Which is a fantastic archetype or model for all conversations that you will face yourself and with your friends when this comes up. So let's see if we can see it. And let's even see if we can recognize what flavor of interpretation in our new map that we're being asked to make. Let's jump in.
Jester Goon maxed.
Let's just the Goon Max ourselves. Right, so we've gone through a couple of times already the specific line of questioning that you can use yourself or to friends when they have had a second hypothesis light experience. You ask them about causes, about whether or not the cause applies to everything, whether or not the cause is superior, independent, and prior from the effect. And then once you've nailed down that as a principle, you apply it to their specific case. That's also the dialectic. Right? Define an idea. Let's actually see that on the board, because it's the same dialectic structure we've been using for the hypotheses. The same dialectic structure we've been using for understanding. Last time we were talking about how our problems follow the dialectic structure. Definition, your self-mask. Demonstration, the states of mind. Division, how you function, the role that you play in your life. Conclusion, relating to failures. Or the good one. The first hypothesis, definition of self. Second hypothesis, state of mind. Third hypothesis, role. Understanding, leading to success, and how our dreams reflect both, making our dreams the best thing that we can apply our minds to in the physical world. The best fun you can have with your friend over coffee. Cheers.
All checks out.
I would scoop the moon in a cup for you.
Oh, that's a lovely sense.
I'm cute. Like, it's cutie pie.
So yeah, it's the archetype, so we can find it everywhere, but let's also have a look at it here. And how we might reason this particular argument to help someone who's had a light experience. You might say, okay, what would be the definition? Subject in relation to itself. Cause and effect. That's the principle. Can we give an example of that? Or how does that manifest or function? Demonstration. Maybe you could even say the cause and effect, with causes being defined as superior, independent, and prior. And then you can go on and give a demonstration of that. Talk about a pencil. Or any experience. Pencil having a cause, any experience you've had has had a cause. Division. So use that particular functioning on the relevant division. Hey, by the way, your experience would have to have a cause. Which is superior, independent, and prior. And therefore, as a conclusion, there is a state prior, superior, independent, above your current one. See? Now, they may have trouble with the idea of cause and effect, like a seventh hypothesis person that we've been talking about. In which case, you could do a dialectic to establish the principle. Notice, we've begun with the definition that has already accepted that causes are prior, superior, and independent. That's our starting ground. But here is the thing. The dialectic is used for the reasoning, 4 stages, conclusion, other, back to self. But it's also used in the conversation as a whole. For instance, if they weren't happy with this, if they didn't understand this, then you can expand it out using the dialectic. So notice, we're taking for granted the definition. It's obvious enough to both people. But we could say, hey, eyelashes in my eyes. The definition is cause and effect. It functions as a functioning or a demonstration of that. The painter is prior to his painting. Division You could give further examples of that, like an artist. Well, yeah, a lot of them are going to be artists, aren't they? Parent to child. Some sort of model to copy. And give some more examples. And from those examples, you see in each of them, there is a single other or principle. That's synthesis. What's the single theme? All of the causes are prior, superior, independent from its effects. And then what do you do with that? You take that other back to the self. That's analysis. That's the two parts of the conclusion. Other back to self. What does that mean? We take this theme or idea we've synthesized from the divisions or examples that the person had to be walked through to see this idea, and therefore we take it back to the start. Therefore, the cause is always prior, superior, independent from the effect. So we've used the stages of the dialectic to lead someone through an establishing of that principle. Then we go back to what we were talking about and use that principle to apply it through the same stages, to apply it to their specific example. See, the first time we took this definition for granted, but we didn't have to if the person didn't follow. So the dialectic can work in play. Is that cool? Is it cool? I think it's cool.
I think it's awesome.
I think it's awesome too.
I would scoop the moon in a cup for you.
And I would scoop the moon in the cup for a dialectician.
That one's perfect and exactly the case.
So that idea of cause and effect that you can now use those steps to talk about with your friends. By the way, he has introduced another idea. Now, Jesus hasn't stomached that idea that there is a superior state to his. But if you do, Socrates introduces another principle that you can use: as above, so below. So whatever stage you are on, or the effect, is like its cause. So it's superior, independent, or prior, but that superior, independent, or prior nature the prior or superior cause is like its effect. That's a principle of as above, so below. Notice we're using cause and effect again, but we're adding a new principle, which means if the person is not familiar with the principle of likeness or as above, so below, you could also go through your own mini dialectic to give examples or to define what that means, to show an example of how it demonstrates, to break it down into the divisions. If they're not happy with the definition, give an example. If they're not happy with the example, break it down into more examples that they can reason through in the division stage, where they can see, there is something that happens all the time. The artist is like his painting. The musician is like his music. The building is like its blueprints, modeled copy. And then in your conclusion stage, therefore, we can conclude Cause and effects also use the principle of likeness, or as above, so below. So you could break it down like that. But Jesus hasn't even accepted the prior one. He got triggered, but we can. Therefore, the author is asking us to put the two together. Not only is there a cause prior to the greatest experience, because all experiences have a cause, even peak experience, there is something about that higher stage that we are not yet in, that we can wonder about, because whatever we experience is like it. Therefore, the peak experience, second hypothesis, is below but like the above. While the second hypothesis is a oneness of all of those eidos, not forms, eidos, a oneness is like a one. It's less than, it's inferior, it's below, but its cause, superior and above, would be a one. Or if this is goodness, this is a good. If this is the highest experience of beauty, there might be an even higher transcendent beauty, like it, but superior. We can wonder about that, even if Jesus is triggered and can't. So, why do we think that the highest experience is truth? Because we can't imagine anything beyond it. As a result, we might start our own cult, create a teaching from what we take to be the meaning of that experience. Nothing can be imagined as more real or beautiful as an experience. It changed your life. Everything prior was empty and wasteful. And we said, well, you might be able to imagine greater experiences of all the other ones. Those principles still hold. Someone who goes from materialism into, I don't know, the world is a battleground between good and evil. That might be a significantly more meaningful way of being. At least you can have reason. Hey, maybe it's survival of the fittest. Maybe you can understand art in terms of evolutionary theory. What were the members of the species that were able to do sexy times?
They're like a goon. They're a gooner.
They were a gooner.
I'm just asking for some gooner men.
You're asking for some gooner men. Gooner. And you might look back on your old way of life and there is no forces, there is no rationality. It's all just physical things bumping into each other and go, my life sucked down there. My state of mind sucked down there. I'm going to become a scientist, become a professor of this or that, teaching evolutionary theory, that kind of thing. Now, that's not to say evolution doesn't exist. Within a framework of mind and self and logos. But if that's your peak, you might think that's the top. So we're getting it in the extreme sense with Jesus, who has had the second hypothesis. Far more understandable that people who are there think they've reached it. Taoism and many other spiritual groups are based on this experience. I reached the truth. I had this glimpse. There are people who've even seen third hypothesis. Recognize that there is a gap between each frame or moment. I think maybe Eckhart Tolle, from what I remember, might be one of those people. He started his own group, done a bunch of books, gets a lot of people coming to his seminars, created a worldview based on his glimpse of the third hypothesis, thinks that it's it, bet you a nickel if you try to engage in a conversation where he was asked to go beyond, he might push back. Try it if you meet him. So, my previous hypotheses sucked. My life has changed. This is a glimpse into something more real. I can't imagine anything better, so I'm going to make my life about it and start my little group. Jesus is triggered. We have some tells. I'll have to dwell on that later, putting it off. Why not answer it now? Why not answer the question now? Why not address it now? You've made me wonder about the effects of peak experiences. Are you really wondering about it, or are you telling a story about yourself? That's often a tell that someone's in their problem. Why? Because our fourth hypothesis belief is a story about ourselves that we derive from experiences we had in childhood in the physical world. And we gave an example. Someone I saw interviewed a Democratic candidate, asked if they'll take AIPAC money. And they would, and they do. They said, I'm the sort of person who stands for my principles. Instead of answering the question, they told a story about themselves. Here is Jesus telling a story about him wondering. But is he wondering? Jumping ahead to the conclusions, I find it challenging, and I suspect this idea will have far-reaching conclusions. Often when people jump ahead to the conclusions, then they don't like it. Well, if I answer this question, it will mean this and that, and I don't like those conclusions. Then they've left the conversation. They've gone off on their own. They're doing the steps without confirmation from the dialectician. This and then this and then this. Hang on a second. You're gish galloping ahead. So, some tells that someone might be entering into their or in their B state, pathologos state, problem state. Now we have to confirm, are they really? Let's see how they function. Socrates, I do believe. There's a huge tell. Talking about belief and not understanding. Why? Who cares what you believe? No one. That's why people have kids, or people become politicians or religious officials or billionaires, so people give a shit about your dumb beliefs. Otherwise, no one cares about your beliefs, because beliefs had nothing to do with truth. It's what you believe. Stupid. Well, if I had your parents, maybe I'd believe a similar thing, but don't, dummy.
It's sad, and I'm sad for you.
I'm sad for you.
You just attacked my person. You just
Oh my
harmed
goodness.
my body.
I didn't mean to harm your body. Sorry about that.
That's anti-feminist in some way.
Well, I don't want to be anti-feminist.
Disgusting. I'm so
Oh
disgusted.
my goodness, everyone's mad at me.
They're secretly turned on by it.
Oh my goodness.
Gooners.
Goodness. Belief. Tell. There's a difference between our approaches. Undermining the single approach. It's just understanding. It's no difference. You can't reject the dialectic. Like going to your doctor and saying, I think there's a problem in our approaches. You're doing medicine. I want to do imaginary make-em-ups. I'm a Christian scientist. No. So, attacking the methodology of understanding. And there's a fundamental difference. There's another one, division. As we just pointed out, belief functions through division or conflict. You believe in one God and I believe in many gods. Again, belief, particularly venerated through religion, is another tell. So we can add that to our list. A veneration or justification So let's move Socrates' response over. Now these aren't going to be in order, so you can order them so you can have something to do. You're welcome. Let's make a different color. A veneration of beliefs. With idea of God or religion. This probably would be similar to another position here, declaring a belief as a fact or evidence, talking about clan identity. These are all, so we talked about the tells, putting it off for later, talking about yourself instead of actually doing it, jumping ahead to the conclusions, triggered functioning, talking about beliefs and not reasoning, challenging the method. Now we're adding in venerating of your own beliefs because of God. Another thing that he did was division. We will never come together. We're fundamentally divided. Division or conflict. Because you can solve problems with understanding, but if you reject understanding, how do you solve problems? You can't. You're just in conflict. I believe A, you believe B. Let's do a genocide. Let's blow each other up. Let's do a holy war. Now we're about 160 episodes into this reading of this banger of a book. Has it gotten more obvious? Anyone who's been following along? See, all we've said is, there is one way of proceeding in the conversation, understanding, that solves problems, brings us both together. We mutually understand. We can bring the lower stages, Jesus, up to reach Socrates. We become like each other and everyone wins. Socrates perfects his art. Jesus reaches up to the level of Socrates. It's a win-win-win-win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win. It's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win.
Win-win-win. And we've contrasted understanding with belief. That always has to function with division. Always causes conflict. Does it make the physical world easier to understand? Does it make the conflicts of religion, politics, capitalism easy to understand? If Elon Musk or Peter Thiel has power simply because he has all the money, he hasn't addressed his beliefs, he hasn't got understanding of the good, he will always cause harm. Same thing for every politician, same thing for every religion ever. Is it obvious? Is it easy to see? Oh, you do belief? How do you resolve belief? You fucking can't. You just got to blow up the world. Oh, interesting. By the way, is that what Paul says is the end of the world? Paul, who rejects understanding and experience and says just have faith, creating modern Christianity. The end of the world ends with the world blowing up. Hooray! And maybe Jesus comes back because make-em-ups, nonsense, magic. Is it obvious? Beliefs, conflict, understanding, solving problems. Imagine if we all learnt this in day one at school. Could we have a better world? By the way, punishment. Is that understanding? When you're beating a child for getting the wrong answer, or not doing what daddy or mummy wants, or not doing what Epstein billionaire wants the child to do, torturing them to death? Is that understanding, or is that punishment understanding, or is punishment conflict? Is that why that they all want to spend their billions of dollars murdering people, starving people, torturing people to death? Are they playing out the conflict inherent in their personal beliefs? Is it just that easy? By the way, I mentioned this book's a banger.
If you don't know, now you know.
Now we know. All right, so appealing to God. It's not my beliefs, it's God's beliefs. It's my religion. Division. We will always be divided. God alone is Lord of all and he's ruler. Again, no justification, just declaration of beliefs as facts. So we could make that declaration of beliefs as facts and evidence. So let's make the next one okay, let's change the numbers. Declaration of beliefs as facts as evidence, that's one stage. Number 4. And then using that declaration of your belief as a way of going to your conclusion will be the next one. So, using beliefs and not reasoning. Number 2, challenging the method. Number 3, telling the other person what they think. So Jesus is doing that now. You believe in this God, I believe in this God. Well, are you asking or are you telling? Notice, dialectic is asking questions. Number 4, declaring your beliefs as facts and evidence. Number 5, using it for your justification of the conclusion instead of the answer coming from the other person. See? Here is my belief, God alone is Lord of all. Here is my conclusion, and therefore no ruler can be God, can be Lord, and no ruler can be deified. The answer is supposed to come from the other person in a dialectic. Okay, God is not to be sought anywhere but in the heart and soul of man. Have we defined what that means? Do you mean literally? Do you mean in our feelings? What do you mean by soul? Are there stages of soul? Garbage talk, nonsense, empty platitudes. Or
It's great because it's stupid, but it gets a lot of attention, mate.
it does, mate. Thank you.
Oh my fuck.
Empty phrases, platitudes, or catchphrases. To find him within is the kingdom of God. Okay, kind of missing a methodology there. Or a defining of terms. So again, a rejection of the dialectic, no definition of terms. You add that in. Let's do it. So everything we've been learning about in the dialectic, we can see our problems or our triggered state is a rejection of those principles. Not defining. Definition is the first part of the dialectic. Not defining terms. What does it mean to say it's in your heart or your soul? What do you mean by kingdom of God? This difference separates us. Again, division, we've already got that on the board. And it can be shouted aloud, conflict. That it is the fourth philosophy of our people. clan identity, group identity, talking about clan identity or us versus them. People don't say, I like that Christian theory. They say, I am a Christian. What if you find a better theory? You're fucked. You can't personality max.
Personality maxing requires you to look inward on a deeper level, and it's harder to fix because then you have to make fundamental changes to who you are as a person, and it's because it feels like a much more core component of themselves that they don't want to change. Like, it's like, well, then if I change this, who am I?
Personality maxing is what the cool kids call it. My head is so itchy. Oh. Can't scratch. Mustn't scratch. Ignore it, Jed. Okay. We are neither the Sadducees, the Pharisees, or the Essenes. We are the fourth people. We are called the Zealots. Oh, really? Great. We are the Jews. We are the chosen people. We are the people of Abraham. We're not the Protestants. We're not the Unitarians. We are the Mormons. Mormons are my favorite because they have magic underpants and they do soaking. They need to be a reasonable gooner.
Gooners.
Gooners.
Brain rot escalates.
Get the fuck out.
See, defined by their division. Even among Christians, they are still killing each other and seeking rulership over the other one. Who's in charge? Who gets all the stuff? Who gets all the wealth? No matter how many similarities we might find between our doctrines, the difference is impassable. Again, division. Always division. Only division. I have heard you say that you have a way of making the many appear as one. So now he's misrepresenting the other person. That's not what he says. Philosophy isn't about appearance. It's about truth. And among the many, you have a way of placing them in a hierarchy. However that may be, every hierarchy has members, so it is still a manyness or not a one. Misrepresenting the other person or diminishing them. Making the argument about personalities, you think this or what I think that. Okay. He is rejecting all of the other previous reasoning or conclusions. But prior to that, he even... What's he trying to do? He's trying to take over. Take over leadership of the dialogue. I'm the one asking questions now. Politician often does that. Asks a tricky question and then they start asking, like, well, what about you? What do you think about Joe Biden? You don't like us putting innocent people in concentration camps and murdering them in the streets? Well, what about Joe Biden? I'm asking the questions now. Taking over leadership of the dialogue. He is trying to reframe the premises according to his own worldview. Hey, do you want to murder brown people, or do you hate America? That's the way I'm framing it, reframing the premises. Which suits, which is in a loaded way, Now, this one could be harder to see because it's more about motivation rather than what they actually do, behind what they do. Reframing to support already held belief. So that belief he's declared, we can only have division. My view is better than your view. Our people should kill your people is the implications. Reframing to support already held. So we already know what belief he holds, but he's reframing in a way that will justify his conclusion. To support or justify the belief he's already carrying. Notice, he's not seeking truth or benefit. He's seeking to reframe the dialogue to support or justify the beliefs and the way of being of his people. And way of being. We've already seen this in the text as well. They already have. The beliefs or way of being, they already carry. So it's not about being receptive to the logos of self, learning new insight that we're here to do. It's about justifying the ignorance you already carry, the beliefs you already carry. Which is fascinating. Imagine that as a worldview. You're born into a family and you think your whole life is to just justify the bullshit you got from your parents. What about the cosmos? What about the source of the cosmos? What about the reason for existing? What about evolution? Do you think the beliefs that children had 100 years ago were true? Of course not. Slavery, sexism, racism. Now, most of that still exists, but why would you think reality is about justifying the family beliefs you already grew up with and not being open and receptive to new insight? What do you think? Learning finishes when you're 4 years old? It's a bizarre worldview. Or it's an absurd worldview that we can see as absurd so long as we ousia, reflect on it. See? They already carry. So no insight, no learning, no reaching truth, no further development, no receptivity to higher enlightenment experiences, no evolution to non-physical realms of being. No, just justifying the beliefs and way of being they already carry, which happens to be from childhood. The ignorance of your parents. Not my parents, they knew everything. Where did your parents get it from? Well, their parents, I guess. Yeah, they went through the same thing you went through. Do you think your grandparents are all knowing and true? Well, no, they're from a different time. So what do you think about your parents now? Where did the grandparents get it from? Great-grandparents, do you think they were all knowing? Didn't even have cars back then. Goes all the way back to the cave. Cavemen, do you think they were great? So reframing to support or justify the beliefs and way of being they already carry. Notice, we've already understood the nature of gods as a metaphorical or mythological personification, metaphor or mythology, representation of the forces of metaphysics, describing the aspects of luminosity as the gods, the nature of self as the single god, and the journey of the soul through the development of the hypotheses through that luminosity to our first and final cause. That's what it is. What it isn't is taking it literally. He is ignoring or rejecting those previous reasons or conclusions. Oh no, gods are literal, and you do belief, and you believe in this. Fuck off. You're a philosopher. Get out of here.
You have the brain of a child if you think that.
You've got the brain of a child if you think that.
She's a moron. She's a
She's a
bonked on the head
individual.
BHI.
I coined that.
If you're experiencing a mental health episode, we don't want to have to see that.
Fucking, that's
see that.
weird that you think that. Look at this, bro. Get the fuck out.
Get the fuck out. Come on, get the fuck out.
You're a little bitch ass baby.
Little bitch ass baby. So we've already got veneration of personal beliefs with the idea of God, and of course, ultimately, division or conflict. Now, what you can do if you wanted to, this is something that you would benefit your whole life if you did, and beyond possibly. You could arrange all of these kinds of examples of functioning when you're triggered within a dialectical structure to see how it all ends, to see how it all comes together. You might have the conclusion as division or conflict because it will always conclude in this way. You can look at how each of them is a rejection of any of the principles of the dialectic to help in finding the structure. Maybe some of these ideas are the same idea, or maybe they're in the same category. Have fun with it. Imagine that. Imagine being able to talk to anyone anywhere, and no matter what they do, you can recognize you're in state B or state A. If you're in state B, I can't go along with this. I can't yes and you. I have to know this. No, not that. This is the real issue. No, I'm not accepting those premises. This is the issue. No, that's not a proper representation of me. This is the case. No, that's not a proper representation of our conclusions we've already come to. That's the significance of bringing this all together. And we've just got a masterclass from this text. I keep rubbing my face because I got an eyelash or something, and I got an itchy head. A masterclass. Imagine that. So, masterclass in what it entails that we might be being triggered, and to find the functioning of being triggered and how it functions in opposition to the dialectic. What does Socrates say? Previously, he's been saying yes, and this is the case. The first time, no. Sorry, pal, no.
She's a moron.
You know what? Suck my dick.
Maybe not that harsh.
Please end kink shaming on your
Well, that's not true because I don't think so.
Because I don't think so.
That's insane. Like, you need help. There's no help, actually. You need a straitjacket.
You need a straitjacket.
I'm going to get you. I'm going to
I'm
find
going to
you.
find you.
And I'm going to get you.
Get you. No, the difference is our understanding of a certain key idea. Notice, division, pulling out the key idea from Jesus's ramblings. The key idea is God. You've based your whole argument on my belief of God is better than your belief. We will never come together. We are the chosen people. You are the not chosen people. Blah, 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 blah. Bullshit. You have understood the idea of God. We agree that there is a highest divine source. We agree that it must use a model of creation, paradigm, map. We even agree that we call it the Logos, because even in your Bible, the opening words of John, the Logos was in the beginning, and the beginning, Logos or the Word was in the beginning with God. Now the English translation is in the beginning was the Word and the Word was with God. The actual Greek is Logos, which is much, much, much more profound than the word. That means creation needs the Logos as a model. Therefore, it is eternal, unchanging. It has a vitality. It has a mode of being. Eternal, unchanging, has a life force or power or vitality, has a mode of being. That's what we call gods. Each of these unchanging features, aspects of luminosity or aspects of the map, pure consciousness, can be personified The eidos, not the forms, the eidos can be personified. Since they have a mode of being, we say that God the Creator has to use the logos as a paradigm. And again, you could probably imagine your own dialectic. Does an artist need a model to create their copy to look at? Does a architect need blueprints to look at as the model for the copy? Therefore, principle. What do we do once we have a principle? We apply it to the specific thing we're talking about. God, the Creator, must have the logos as a paradigm or as a model for its creation. If it has a mode of being existing eternally, then even that paradigm has to have a cause. Since all that exists must have a cause. The cause of the logos or paradigm we call Cronos. So this eternal existing paradigm or map has to have a cause. However, by the same reasoning, it itself must have a cause. So there's a cause even of the cause that we call Uranus. These are what we call gods, and they can be personified and celebrated. Not literal, dummy. Dum-dum.
Dude, suck my dick.
Jesus.
What the hell kind of a show is this? What is this? The comedy mothership?
With language like that, you think we're in the comedy mothership.
I've been a bad little girl.
Get the fuck out.
Oh my goodness. The ultimate cause we say is the one or the good. Ultimate cause, Uranus. So Uranus would be a personification of the one self or the good self. Your followers recognize that, so we're in agreement, dummy, with all your attempts to divide us. We're in agreement. Even your followers see that there has to be the logos as a model that the Creator God uses. It has to have a cause. It has to have a cause itself. That's the primary or ultimate cause. We can call that Uranus, or the one or the good. See? So that's Socrates' response. What did we say before about this? He rejects the premise or framing, and therefore that loaded question. He rejects the leadership, so he rejects these things that Jesus is doing. He doesn't yes and, but he does know this. Not yes and, no, this is the case. He brings back and re-summarizes or quickly re-reasons the previous understanding and conclusions. He uses these established conclusions. Notice, not beliefs, but established reasoned conclusions. Conclusions and definitions, like the definition of God, the personification of these principles that have a mode of being. Is that interesting? Is that cool though? That there are these modes of being. Like you meet the gods. They have a life force, they have a being, they're aspects within a higher dimension. Like they're not just to be reasoned about, they're to be experienced. And I guess you would experience it through not the physical world by connecting physically with them, but if it's in the realm of mind, by joining with it. Likeness. Aphrodite, Apollo, beauty, justice, truth. Have a vitality, have a power, have a mode of being as aspects within the greater whole, the greatest whole, or the whole of all parts. That's what we are preparing ourselves to be open to experiencing and recognizing. Let's not forget that. It's not just pure understanding. Yes, it's understanding. Yes, it helps us solve the problems in the physical world. Yes, it allows us to help to understand the ideal human relationships, to have a loving relationship and fantastic friendships. Yes, it's what we are supposed to do to learn and develop, which will affect our next reincarnations. But also, these things are to be experienced. And as we're seeing even that experience, we can go beyond to its cause. So we can even encounter Cronos and Uranus. The one or the good. Which is why we call it the one self. Because if you're encountering the one, you're not different from it. It's yourself. The good itself. If you encounter the good, Uranus, it's you. You are seeing that the most good, not just the most good, the goodnesses you can experience in mind or the second hypothesis, the gods. But the reason why they're so good is because they are reflections of self. You are the good in your truest sense. In your what? True self. You are the good that underlies everything. That's why beauty is good. That's why justice is good, because it's you. That's the fundamental principle. You can always ask, why is beauty good? Why is justice good? Or why are they desirable? They're good because they are the self, or they are closest reflections or copies of the model of self. Self is the primary unit. It's the primary standard. You. Isn't that fascinating? How do we bring things together into understanding? We bring ideas into a oneness. We unify. How do we bring a just world together? Unify our people. Remove the divisions. Why does that seem to work? Oh, because the one and the good are the same. If you're creating a oneness, you're following the principle of one. What's that? What's the primary unit? The fundamental principle? Oh, it happens to be the first cause. So the cause of all of creation, the primary model, is one, allowing for onenesses of things that exist, onenesses of understanding, onenesses of good societies, onenesses of ideal relationships. The standard is self, which is one. It's also the standard of good. So good and one are the same. It also is the first cause, the most prior and superior and independent. Truth. Everything that follows the principle of true and false, or what is true and what isn't, is true in that it reflects the principle of self. Meaning, the standard of true, the standard of good, the standard of one is you. Now, if that follows, then that might open an even higher question for us. If the intelligibility of the paradigm that God uses, or the map that God uses to create, is the second hypothesis, if it has a cause that transcends superior cause and effect, it's like it, as above so below, there must be a kind of logos activity of the self we call Cronos that creates the intelligibility of mind as its reflection. But even that activity must come from something. Model and activity, second and third. Model and activity, fourth and fifth. But Socrates just told us that the first cause or model or Uranus, or the whole of self or the knowing of self, is the good, or the one. In reading this text, we've realized that it's also the missing third term, the true. The three aspects of the soul that we've been talking about. Reasoning brings things into a oneness, so we seek understanding, we seek unity, as we've been talking about in a society. The good people, the progressives, seek unity. The bad people, the conservatives, the belief-based, can only do division. That's always harmful, that's always oppressive, it's always sick. They always have to lie to justify it. Oneness. That also brings about a goodness. Your car is more good when it is a oneness and doesn't fall apart. Our society is more good when it does so. A more beautifully arranged oneness is beautiful, and a more well-ordered arranged oneness is just. Goodness, connected to one, but two different ideas. So we desire a goodness, we understand with a oneness, but there is a third aspect of our soul. We inwardly desire our goodness, we want to eat a good sandwich. We have to reason, use understanding to plan how to get a good sandwich, but we also have activities that motivate us outwardly. We seek to do things in a true way. We don't want to be scammed. We want to find the truth about the things we seek. True love, true understanding. Find the true self. So we are adding that, which is what we're able to do if we can see that there is a pattern. Now, we've also been seeing that there is a triad of self. Each of these hypotheses, when you're identified with it, you take it as the triad of self. Is it on the board already? Yeah, it's up here, kind of messy. We've got it here. Well, that's so messy. Here we go. Triad of self. It's how you... Let's include them all together. This is why it's so good to have the gods, because the triad of self, or the anagogic triad as well, contains our functioning, our thinking. Spam.
It's a scam.
There's a spammer.
And this is spam.
And it's a spam.
AI slop.
It's AI slop.
Disgusting. I'm so
So
disgusted.
disgusting. Thinking, our functioning, or our activity, our logos, our language, our conversation. All of that we can bring together into a single idea. Apollo. That's the significance of the gods. Whereas we have to, we need a state of mind. Motivating us, inspiring us. We need some sort of motivation or inspiration to motivate us. That's taking these parts and bringing to see that they see the parts come together. As a whole, therefore we can participate in beauty, in meaning. Let's leave out meaning. Let's talk about beauty. So lots and lots of things. Talk about that as ousia, Aphrodite. See? All of these many different ideas you can, and as you tell stories about Aphrodite, you might talk about how this one relates to this one. And then do another comic about Aphrodite and Apollo having lunch and talking about this one and this one. That's telling stories. That's mythology. Aphrodite. There's a triad of self. Hermes is at the top, which represents the dialectic. Our dialectic. Or our highest existence. Or our fullest flowering. Or hyparxis. Lots of ideas that you can bring together. So, if these also can represent the aspects of ourself, our functioning, our state of mind, and self. So we see our ideal type of self expressed within the forces of our individual soul or psyche, because we seek our highest oneness of understanding. We desire the kind of goodness that inspires us, but we also want to know the true self. So if we have been given the one and the good, oneness of thinking, goodness of beauty, inspiration, we can finish the map. The one, the true, or the good, which actually is neat because we've recognized that each of those three primary ideas have members within their set. Basketball teams. There is Team LeBron James. There is Team Los Angeles Lakers. Our oneness that we seek, there's our captain of the team, oneness, whole and part, same and different. They are the members of the team, the units of understanding, the units of reality, but units for us to use in understanding if we want to do good. Goodnesses, justice, beauty, these are all onenesses. But truth, we can establish there is a model and copy. The model is greater than its copy. As above, so below. This principle of truth we've been using applied to cause and effect. Cause and effect is a duad. The principle of as above and so below. Triads. Why? Because the greater is the model. The copy is lesser. But for there to be that principle unfolding, there has to be the ultimate, the principle. Or if the model is the logos of mind, second hypothesis, there has to be a cause. We could even apply it to this. Let's have a go. The lesser are the team members, these self logos, Lego pieces of understanding. The greater is the captain, oneness, goodness, or truth. But the ultimate, there has to be even a principle for these. What's the principle of oneness? The one. What's the principle of goodness? Good. What's the principle of truth? The true. Therefore, Uranus, the ultimate cause, we can understand as the one, the good, or the true self. Self because they have their own selfhood, and it's our ultimate goal. So if we can see it, as we've been reading, it's sight seeing itself as the self, as the one self, the true self, or the good self. Now, why is that interesting? Well, if the one is also the good and the good is also the true and the one is the true, and because it's the Uranus, the primary standard, and if Socrates is using more than one word to talk about Uranus, It's a many. So we've already expanded the first hypothesis of Parmenides into two possible things. Cronos, the activity reflecting the... How do we see it? As above, so below. By seeing that in every other diminished level of reality, there is a model and copy, therefore, or a whole and parts, or an ousia and logos, or a model and activity. The activity of self that generates the second and the logos is Cronos, and therefore that has to have its cause Uranus. So we're able to see that there might be two stages within the first hypothesis. But if the first hypothesis is the one Socrates is calling the one or the good, and we are adding the true, does that mean, if that's Uranus, does that mean there is even a stage beyond self? So we've already got the 10th hypothesis. We can add the 11th and 12th, which would be rejections of either of them as possible worldviews. We haven't really explored what that could be, but that's a possibility to add to the greatest map or use of the dialectic we have so far. But is there a stage even beyond the 10th hypothesis? The 13th? That somehow unifies the one, the good, and the true. Amazing.
I'm joy maxing, okay? And if I aura mog you because I'm joy maxing so hard, that just sounds like your cortisol levels
Are spiking for no reason.
Don't get your cortisol levels spiked by that idea, but that's a possibility that we can wonder about. So that's Socrates' response. What was it? Reject the premise of framing of the B state, the triggered state. Reject his leadership. Don't yes and, but know this. Bring back and re-summarize or re-reason quickly the previous understandings and conclusions. Use those established reasoned conclusions that we've already got that Jesus was rejecting. And and those definitions. To conclude. Bring it all together. Conclude. Given we've already understood that the gods are different than your belief-based bullshit, they are personifications of these principles that have a mode of being, a vitality, they're eternal, they're unchanging. Even your followers recognize this. Even you've got a name for the paradigm, it's the logos. Even it must have a cause, Cronos, and even that must have a cause, Uranus. Therefore, conclusion, the ultimate cause, therefore, is the one or the good. And your followers recognize that, so we are in agreement. Jesus' conclusion, we are in disagreement, division, conflict. Socrates, no, we're in agreement. You idiot. Wake up, fool.
dumbass.
Dumbass. Dumbass.
Disgusting. I'm so disgusted.
Anything for a click, no matter how stupid or demented or misleading.
Come on, Jesus, don't do everything for a click.
My head is quite large and filled with secrets.
Now our heads are quite large and filled with secrets. How does Jesus respond? My friend, so we're friends again, thank goodness. You have expressed it well. It has given me another idea to consider and reflect on. What is the role of gods in your life as a philosopher? Well, we have already been doing that as a way of bringing together all of these many ideas into a simple triad over and over again. The triad of self, the triad of every god has to have an existence, a power, and a functioning. Ourselves, the self, the mind, and understanding, the first, second, and third. The principle of model and copy, whole and part. So there's our duad of whole and part, model and copy. All of these different ideas we can summarize in just one word. Takes the many into a one. That's how we've been using it. Also, we've been following Apollo. It's our method to reason, to find the logos in the text, to follow the logos. Aphrodite, to bring it together in a whole in these kinds of reflections that we spend half of our time doing, or more than half even. Because ultimately we want to master the dialectic. And it's the dialectic that we are using to, first of all, progress through the map of development, and secondly, to address our interpretation, to find the dialectical reflection of our problems, on our problems, the failures that we have, to see how we function, what role do we play to cause our problems, what state of mind were we in, and then can we trace that back through our past to find our original negative state of mind where we first picked up our mask. All human problems are these 4 steps behind all human problems. So 4 steps behind all human problems that manifest because we have that 3 triad of self, state of mind, and functioning. That is the pathologos in opposition to the logos. Therefore, 4 steps, 3 aspects of self, 2 expressions, the logos or the pathologos, and 1 method. 4, 3, 2, 1. That's everything. Is that neat? Yes.
Oh, fuck.
No, not oh fuck.
Hubba hubba. I just want more testosterone to human body ratio.
And I'll finally be satisfied.
Dead-eyed, and I don't use this kind of terminology lightly, dimwits.
I'm joy maxing, okay? And if I aura mog you because I'm joy maxing so hard, that just sounds like your cortisol levels are spiking for no reason.
Yes. We enjoy maxing. So that's how we use Hermes. To address our false image of the self by going through this dialectic backwards, dialectic Hermes, to remove our problems, and to perfect our excellence, or move up through those hypotheses. So that's how we have been using the gods to help bring everything together, all of these complicated manyness into a simple Hermes, Aphrodite, and Apollo. We also have been talking about human relationships. There's a threesome, there's you, there's your beloved, and then there's this shared ideal, meaning all good relationships is a threesome. Love and logos, always reaching the dialectic, our excellence. Or Apollo, Aphrodite, and Hermes. That's how we've been using them, but how does Socrates answer the question? How does what role do the gods play in his life? Now, before we go any further, We explored the nature of those people who support war because, what are you, for us or against us? They can't, hey, China can't be treating people better. America, when we kill each other and impoverish everyone because of the billionaire Epstein class, starting wars and murdering people all over the world, that has to be good because the other guys are China and they're the bad guys. They also do bad stuff. It's either them or us. We have to kill Iraqi people or Iranian people because they're the bad guys. What do you hate, America? Seventh hypothesis, numbnuts, morons, jabronis.
Look at this broad.
Broads. Now, Socrates says that's where he started. There was no meaning. Life was a battleground between good and evil. That conflict also is within your soul. You're at a constant conflict within your soul. There's no meaning. But then he was introduced to music. Seventh hypothesis is in opposition to meaningful patterns that are beneficial that we can solve in understanding. Notice, seventh hypothesis, no, we don't solve problems by bombing people, you idiot. We solve problems by understanding the cause of problems and addressing them. Everyone wins, you idiot.
It's a win-win-win-win-win.
Win-win-win-win-win. They don't like that and they get angry at that and they want to kill you for saying that because their whole position is in opposition to that. But if they get exposed to something that does show a rational, beautiful harmony like music, or the beautiful lady that Socrates met after he experienced music, he was able to be open to the third hypothesis. So there is a way out. To show that there is a harmony that you can experience in music. And then to wonder, hey, maybe we can experience it in the physical world, so maybe I'm in the fourth or fifth hypothesis. But he also wondered, does that physical world activity, so maybe fifth hypothesis of harmony, reflect a higher dimension? Socrates walked us through this as how he woke up to philosophy. Then he met Parmenides, who actually gave him the method of the dialectic, which he was allowed to apply, which he then used to unpack the meaning of his dreams. And of course, then he met Diotima, who showed how in loving relationships, he was able to use that dialectic to reach beauty itself and then to go beyond it to the self, which Socrates said he needed his dreams too, because dreams are the only way of removing your blocks. So it's not just a matter of climbing the ladder, it's also you have to remove the blocks on the ladder too. So even for those warmongering MAGA morons, there's a way out. There's a way out, so long as they can experience some sort of rational harmony and be led to wonder about how that could reflect a deeper rational harmony that we might participate in as souls. So there is a way out. Now Socrates said, hey, I saw it with music first, but then I saw it with this beautiful young woman who was talking about understanding in the agora, in the internet of the time, the marketplace of conversation at the time, not marketplace, the social setting where people were talking about ideas. So lots of a few different ways that we can imagine might wake people up to an inherent third hypothesis, rational harmony and meaning behind reality that might help them leave their blow up the world, us versus them, survival of the fittest, you're either for us or against us, bullshit way of thinking that causes, that is manipulated by fourth hypothesis tyrants to support mass murder and genocide. There's a way out for us. Hooray. So, how does Socrates use the gods? For myself, I see the need to say that beauty itself exists. Aphrodite, and has a vast power. The overwhelming experience of beauty drives those who catch a glimpse of her, to do whatever they can to gain a full and more complete vision of her. You fall in love with beauty. Oh my goodness, look how beautiful this intelligible harmony experienced all at once is. I want to have a full, more complete vision of her. As you know, wisdom is the most beautiful of existences, so that philosophers are called lovers of wisdom. To pursue her, they need the arts linked with Apollo, Aphrodite and Apollo, since he represents the powers that perfect and convert those attracted to harmony, as we talked about with Socrates, to reach the intellectual truth. So harmony of beautiful reasoning women or beautiful harmonious music reflect the intellectual truth, the logos. Apollo is mastering the logos through the kind of reading that we do here. And the light, so to reach the intellectual truth, and the light, that luminosity resides there. The light of that luminosity which resides there. His symbols are music. Hey, there we go. Since harmony is most readily seen through her inspired creations. Presenting music, presenting harmony in whatever way you can present it to people in the physical world who might only see shapes and colors. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th hypothesis, 9th. Maybe they can catch a glimpse, or it can remind them of a greater logos that they once experienced before their physical incarnation. But it's Apollo that can convert it. So, there might be many ways for people to discover this channel, but this channel is how you convert that glimpse into full and complete vision or integration. So we're doing. Everything we've been doing on the board has been a Apollo. You wouldn't have stuck around unless you've had some glimpse or some intuition of a beautiful harmony and meaningful existence you can have as a result of this understanding. You needed to have some glimpse, Aphrodite, to stick around. And if you did, we thank you.
Do a poggers.
Do a poggers yourself.
Oh, fuck.
No, not
Oh
fuck.
my fuck.
I said not fuck.
Jester Goon maxed.
You have been Jester Goon maxed if you are still here.
All checks out.
It does all check out.
Cool as a cute.
You are cool as a cute.
They're like a goon. They're a gooner.
And you've gone from a goon to a gooner. Reasonable gooner.
Gooners.
Gooner bait.
Okay, enough of gooners.
Honestly, on Jesus Christ, Emma, this is not Opie and Anthony or whatever the hell.
You're a baby. You're a little baby.
Stop arguing, you two.
You sick fuck.
Oh my goodness. All right. So, is this cool? I mean, have you heard about Socrates as the father of Western thought? They say everything since Socrates is but a footnote to Socrates. They say Plato's Republic, which describes Socrates talking about justice, all the way to the second hypothesis, is the greatest work of Western literature. And if the Republic reaches the second and then means you have to go into the Parmenides to reach the first, then if the Republic is the acknowledged greatest work, then the Parmenides is the greatest work that isn't acknowledged. And we've added to the Parmenides. Is that fun? Do you dig it? Is that cool? We can make intelligible reality. We can understand where all the thinkers are. We can understand our highest activity in dream and why dream analysis is the best we can do. And we can even see how we can convert dumb warmongers by understanding they're in the seventh hypothesis. Even they can be open to the third. You can move from seventh to third. Therefore, we can spend our time doing this together, and obviously your own dream analysis with your friends or your loved ones. And then the rest of the time, whatever you do in the world, to normies, you can reflect your own third hypothesis in your music, in your creation, in how you relate to people. Because your way of being or what you create, if it reflects the dialectic or being a dialectician, can wake people up. And that's as good as you can do. They have to be curious and inspired. The best you can do is live your life with the dialectic, solving your problems and reaching your highest excellence with your friends and with others. Demonstrate that so they can become inspired. I think that's pretty cool. What do you think?
I'm cute. Like, it's cutie pie.
Emma thinks she's cute.
Honestly, on the real,
I have a sickness for the thickness.
On the real, we have a sickness for thickness. Whatever that means.
Why can't these guys shut up, whether or not it's about Jesus?
Okay. All right. So, those who are attracted to harmony can reach the intellectual expression of that truth and the logos within the light of luminosity, the paradigm, through Apollo. His symbols are music, since harmony is the most readily seen through her inspired creations. That's Apollo in your acting. Hermes has from the earliest of times been called the supplier of philosophy, the dialectic, that elevates the souls akin to him. So we've been talking about living your life, personifying the dialectician, using the dialectic in your works and in your personal life and with friends, over coffee, using the dialectic on the ideas you're exploring, on your midwifery you're trying to do to remove your false ideas, and of course on your dreams. It's a win-win-win-win-win.
It's a win-win. It's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win.
So those who become akin, as we've been talking about, can be elevated through Hermes to him. So that's also the idea we've been talking about today, is all of these aspects of mind you experience by joining with them. It's not a physical union, like you're not hugging like you hug your beloved. You unify its consciousness. See? Likeness, the principle of likeness. Okay, but unless they include in their study the dialectic, which we have been calling Hermes, the power of the Logos, the power of Apollo, they will utterly fail to achieve the passage from the brilliant light of being to the good itself. That's the significance. You won't reach your goal, the good or the one or the true or the self, unless you've got the dialectic. So once again, reason number 435 of why the meaning of life is the dialectic. It's a necessary method, says Socrates, transition from your peak experiences to the self, or the one or the good, that we actually seek. By the way, if that's the case, and Socrates is in a conversation with Jesus about his second hypothesis peak experience, to say there is even a cause of that, Cronos and Uranus, Uranus being the good, then the reason why Jesus might be triggered and is abandoning the dialectic to retreat to his fourth hypothesis beliefs might be he has an insufficient mastery of Hermes. He needs to praise Hermes more. Notice, praise Hermes more is a way of saying practice the dialectic more. It's just more fun.
Where's the joy? Where's the whimsy? Where's the childlike wonder?
That's where we have the fun and the whimsy. Oh, you need to praise Hermes more. Meaning, practice the dialectic more. If it's the necessary tool. Therefore, any other spiritual tradition might have a glimpse of this or that. Like a us versus them sounds very Abrahamic religion. Hey, that's better than materialism, says someone in the seventh. I'm going to create a religion based on that, where I will say we are the chosen people and we get to murder the other chosen people so we can rule the world. Fourth hypothesis, I believe this and that, I'm going to start a religion based on it. Third hypothesis, oh, I've caught a glimpse of the thing in the gap. Kashmir Sufism, Eckhart Tolle perhaps. There's a gap between each frame. From that glimpse to the full union with it, beauty itself, the greatest experience. Any one of these, you can start your own spiritual tradition or religion or meditation or yoga or methodology. But if what Jesus is saying, if what Socrates is saying is true, then we can say that the apex or the ideal or archetype of spirituality or spiritual method is the dialectic if it's required to move from the second to the first. The good thing about it, it's understanding. So it's open to everyone. You don't have to be born a Jew or to have your mother be a Protestant or to be converted into Mormonism. And you don't even have to do the magic underpants soaking.
You can be a gooner.
You can still be a gooner, but without magic underpants.
Be a reasonable gooner.
A reasonable gooner. You don't have to be in the right team. It's open to everyone. In fact, it's the human functioning. It's the ideal of human functioning, the ideal of understanding. So, our ideal human functioning, how we use ousia and logos, how we use our capacity for self-reflection and for language, is understanding or the dialectic. It's also the ideal or archetype of spirituality, because it's the absolutely necessary thing to make this final step, which Jesus is struggling in. Is that cool? Yes.
I'm joy maxing.
Okay, and if I aura mog you because I'm joy maxing
So hard. That just sounds like you're
looking for no reason.
Don't cortisol.
I love this guy.
Because we're joy
Spit
maxing.
on me.
Oh, Emma, calm down.
Absolutely gooped.
You're a gooner. Emma.
Gooner.
Hubba hubba. I just want more testosterone to human body ratio, and I'll finally be satisfied.
You're a gooner, Emma.
Queen of gooning.
You're the queen of gooning.
You can be a gooner,
But you can be a gooner.
fucking bitch, pussy ass fucker.
Oh my goodness, calm down.
Jester goon maxed.
You just a gooned max to her. Because she was the queen of gooning. So I think that's pretty neat, and so do all the weird voices on my soundboard. So, unless you include the study of Hermes the dialectic, which is the power of the logos, human activity, you will fail to achieve the passage from the brilliant light of being to the good itself. Thus we can say in my philosophical journey, I pay heed to Aphrodite, Apollo, and Hermes. Hooray. That's the role of the gods in Socrates' life. Pretty cool? Is it pretty cool? I think it's pretty cool. That's why I did the hilarious voice.
If you don't know, now you know.
Now you know why I did it.
Cool as a cuke.
Very cool. This
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions.
Jesus. Why did we talk about that? Because
Cool as a cuke.
I'm cool as a cuke.
My head is quite large.
Secrets. Very beautifully said. Oh, let's bring in Jesus because he's doing the talking here. Very beautifully said Jesus. But I still wonder if you believe they are... Fuck me with the belief, Jesus. Man. I still wonder if you believe they are gods. I believe you will say it is not likely in the way I think of God. Yes. I imagine for all that you will say that they really represent power or forces that be, and that they exist eternally. So they represent. So the gods, or God, represent powers, forces or powers that be, and they exist eternally doing what they do. However, do they exist as gods? Yes! To that, Jesus! You have seen what we call the elements of theology. And our philosophy expresses that vision in a way that preserves its integrity and truth. I just saw something of interest to us, Socrates. We have been searching to understand the mystery of the nature and kinds of interpretation. And I do think I have come to a solution to our problem. We have identified many kinds of interpretation and named each of their kinds. And while that has been important to do, it fails to represent them hierarchically, and especially identify which would be the top of them, on top of them all, and which at the lowest level of them. I just saw a solution to our riddle. Hooray. Because that's what our task has been. We've been collecting all of those interpreters as we've been reading. All of these interpreters. Where are they? Here they are. Paul, the Kabbalah, Mark, John, Plato, Plotinus, Proclus, Dionysius, Ficini, Synesius, and of course the ideal, us, potentially us, you guys, the cool dudes, the ones who are the best.
Cool as a cuke.
So long as we live according to this. And they each have their labels. So there's 9 or 10, reflecting a possible 9 or 10 hypotheses. And Socrates gave us the 5 categories as well that we looked at already today. From rejecting the new, offering alternatives, adapting the new, unifying the old and new, which would be Synesius and Dionysius in 2 different ways, and accepting the new. And of course, there seem to be 2 different expressions of each of them. Rejecting the new, and then the rejecter of that. Offering alternative systems. I'm not sure about that one. Adapting the new to the old, the Kabbalah, patchwork. And of course, those that are pretending to do that. Trying to unify the old and the new. Either because they've been convinced that there is something good in the old, Ficini, or they're lying, Synesius. Trying to have a job as a bishop while in his own personal life doing philosophy and dream work. And of course the ideal. So these might be the 5 categories from which we can have the 2 expressions from that list. That's our working hypothesis, but maybe Jesus has a greater insight that we can benefit from hearing now. I just saw a solution to the riddle, says Jesus.
Everybody should love sluts. I love sluts.
Is loving sluts the solution? Let's see. Socrates comes in. There you are, basking in the glory of the answer and smiling away. You must have a streamer who uses very funny sound drops to have such a big smile on your face.
Fuck.
Well, Socrates, says Jesus, it is not the kind of thing that you can lose or forget. Oh, significant. Remember, our purpose is to learn something which we can take with us in our soul forever. In whatever lifetime, in whatever incarnation, in whatever dimension, in whatever time. It's not the kind of thing you can lose or forget. By the way, it's the idea of smiling as well. That has come up earlier. Let's take that in our back pocket. Why does the role of smiling play within this work? It's not the kind of thing you can lose or forget, says Jesus. It is not true that we have been... It is not true that what we have been calling your Hellenic philosophy and my own teachings are primarily... Sorry, say that again. It's not the kind of thing you can lose or forget, Socrates. If you did, we would say...
You know what? Suck my dick.
Oh my goodness.
That's anti-feminist in some way?
Yes. Is it not true, Mr. Socrates, that what we have been calling your Hellenic philosophy and my own teachings are primarily about the nature of the self? Ooh,
Jester Goon Maxed.
We're being Jester Goon Maxed. Which is to understand that sacred source through the logos. Okay. So, whether it's Jesus's teachings, however they have been misinterpreted and misrepresented through the decades and centuries, or whether it's true Hellenic philosophy, it's been about the nature of self, put it in green, and it's to understand that sacred source through the logos. The dialectic once again. The method is the logos. The experience is the ousia, and of course, we have been wondering about the nature of the logos and ousia, or Cronos and Uranus, as self. So has it not all been about the self and understanding it through the logos? Yet do we not also add the need for presenting a way to confirm? There we go, confirm. There's our experience. Self, logos, ousia. Confirming it in your own experience is ousia. Being the gods, experiencing them, going to the party. That is true. See, our triad again. Apollo, Aphrodite, Hermes. Logos, ousia, self. Jesus is bringing it all together, baby. But how does this represent the riddle for how we can hierarchically arrange the kinds of interpretation? It seems like he's just bringing together everything we've been understanding in the last couple of weeks. So, hey, hasn't our teachings been primarily about the nature of the self, which is to understand the sacred source through the logos? Yet do we not also add the need for presenting a way to confirm what we said is true? That is true, Jesus, my boy. And if our work is complete and can stand alone, then it exists without the need for any interpretation. We must conclude that it is self-sufficient, complete, and intelligible in itself. It would not need an interpretation beyond its own understanding of our elements of theology. However, if there were any weaknesses in our theology, then the correction would add to its explanation and not be an interpretation. When there are no longer any possible additions, it would be called a complete work. So he's suggesting, it seems, that this book we've been reading is an example of a complete work. Even though we can add to the hypotheses because they have been presented as puzzles for us to solve within this work. Interesting. This is not a book of interpretation. It's a book through which you can practice reading. Is that cool? Yes.
Everything this guy does is perfect and beautiful. And he's handsome. I said it.
Ooh. Also a good point.
Oh my fuck.
Jesus. If a work needs an interpretation, it is incomplete and needs something to be added or ignored or rejected. Our work does not need any interpretation. The lowest member of that tribe of interpreters would introduce their own pathologos into a work. This is an upgrade. Finally, Jesus is using the word pathologos. And we can understand that's how the pathologos functions. We've been talking about seventh hypothesis, warmongering numbnuts. We've been talking about how all problems stem from beliefs. How beliefs function is to add shit that ain't there. Projection. Ever heard every accusation is a confession of the right-wingers, of religious folk? The most fervently anti-gay preacher in a religion turns out to be gay time and time again. Grindr crashes at Republican conventions, etc., etc. All of this, we have to protect the children shit from capitalists, conservatives, and clergy. They are the ones doing the harming of the children. Projection or interpretation, to add shit which isn't there or to ignore what's there. That's how they function. Projection or blind spots. Now, if there is a complete work like the one we've been reading, and somebody is reinterpreting it or projecting or leaving stuff out, what they end up doing is introducing their own pathologos into a work. Therefore, we've been talking about how modern people claiming to be philosophers at colleges and on YouTube, they talk about Plato's forms. That's someone's problem. Either a translator or their own personal pathologos. That's why we read the Balboa translations only of Socrates. It's also why we read Pierre Grimes, someone who's gone through midwifery, rediscovered it in fact, to remove his pathologos, or to catch when they might be manifesting to make sure they're not included in the work. So, when people project, they are telling us their problem. When people are functioning in their problem, we don't punish them or bomb them or murder them or put them in a prison cell and then use them for slave labor to be exploited by the most sick fuckers in our society. What we do is we listen. We listen to how they interpret a work like the one that we're reading so that we can help them reflect on their pathologos. Our interpretations are an introduction of our pathologos when we're reading a work that doesn't need to be interpreted. That's how we function in a just world. Whether it be our dreams or these kinds of texts we read here, this is how we function. We read a work that reflects the logos, is intelligible and complete like a dream or these books, and we try and read it, which benefits us. And also, anytime we interpret, we can catch clues about the problem we're here to address. It's a win-win-win.
Calm your fucking tits.
Whoops.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win. It's a win-win-win.
Win-win-win. Socrates. Isn't that neat? It's not just a matter of catching people when they're interpreting or projecting. It's a matter of listening to the specific words they use so we can learn about their particular pathologos problem and identify the stage of development within the hypotheses. Ideally, we want to create conditions within our relationships and our society where those people are then encouraged to reflect on the nature of their interpretation, to see for themselves how it plays out to their inevitable failures, to reflect on their own dreams, to see how their pathologos beliefs are the cause of their interpretation, their function or role of interpretation, and how we can listen to those logos to reflect on the state of mind, find the history of that state of mind, because
No, you're not. People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions.
Because you may not be able to logic your way out of that stupid position, but you can trace that state of mind back to the original source and address the false mask, solving your problems, turning even the most unjust person just. That would be how we live a life. That would be the ideal education system. That would be our ideal justice system. That would be our ideal education system, our spiritual system, and our society. We are learning the model for functioning as an intelligent species. Did I mention this book's a fucking banger? So, the lowest member of that tribe of interpreters would be introducing their own pathologos into the work. Okay, so the lowest member. So he's saying, well, actually there is kind of interpretation where you might not be introducing your pathologos completely. But we are suggesting that, well, you might not be introducing your pathologos, but it might be your pathologos getting in the way of seeing what's there to be seen. Otherwise, you'd be following the logos. Something to wonder about. Then we have with Socrates. How much until the I've got a couple of pages before the chorus comes in. The last chorus. Oh, I've got a few pages. Phew. There's more insights to be gained. Then we have finished our work, Jesus. We have described all the kinds of interpretation and named them. Wait, what was his big insight? What? Works about the self through understanding the logos and confirming it in experience, or Hermes, Aphrodite, and Apollo. First, second, and third. We do so by reading a work that's self-sufficient, complete, and intelligible in itself. And in reading that work, we are understanding the elements of theology, the aspects of metaphysics. If there are any weaknesses, you can make corrections. That would be adding to the explanation, not an interpretation, so we can add to the tradition. If you can't make any extra additions, then it would be complete. If a work needs an interpretation, it's incomplete and needs something to be added, ignored, or rejected. This current work does not need any interpretation. Good to know. But those people who do will be simply introducing their pathologos. Now, the lowest member of the tribe of interpreters So are there other things that can block your seeing? Or maybe you won't be introducing it, you'll just be yourself blocked. Tribe of interpreters is funny. So what was his insight in how to rank these people? He said, I had an insight. We need to hierarchically rank and identify all of the kinds of interpretation. I just saw a solution. What is it? Well, if the work's about the self, logos, and ousia, that's the inside. That's not about hierarchically ranking the Oh, I guess he's saying, okay, so if it's about the self, then all of the kinds of interpretation would be some sort of diminishment of self, maybe leading ultimately as the worst kind of interpretation, the pathologos. So maybe his insight is interpretations are from the self to the pathologos. Which is interesting because we've seen the development of the logos through the positive hypotheses, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, has the self as the highest ruling term. There's our ideal. Through a development of the logos or the dialectic, confirmed in your experience, so there's our 3, 2, 1, but maybe interpretation has the worst, negative one, the pathologos. So maybe our interpreters have this. Has a pathologos idea of the self as the complete rejection of the work. Because you're introducing, so the lowest member of interpreters is those that introduce their pathologos idea of the self into the work. I don't know. I'll have to think about that. What's the great insight? Socrates. Then we have finished our work. We have described all the kinds of interpretation and named them. We share much together, but there is something that sets us apart. And it is this that I still wish to discuss with you, young man. No higher purpose can there be than to discuss what might separate us, old man. Good. it is that we can discuss. Good it is that we can discuss this. What is it? Find out next time. We've done a lot of good work today, I think. Reki, what was the question? What role do the gods play for philosophers? Apollo, the kind of reading of an intellectual and complete work, or a work that reflects the logos like the one we're reading now. The insights that were what we're understanding, we could call the elements of theology. It comes along with direct experience. The level we're open to it. Usia, Aphrodite. And using this reading with our direct experience, we are mastering the dialectic Hermes. It's the dialectic that's necessary for our upward movement and its application in midwifery to free us to make that movement, to free us from our interpretations and perfect our understanding. It's also necessary to go from our peak experience, second hypothesis, to the first hypothesis. Therefore, in reading this kind of a work, you're doing Apollo, surfacing the clues about our pathologos to purify, and working up that triad of Apollo, Aphrodite to our hyparxis or our perfection Hermes, the dialectic. Pretty neat. We're able to use that understanding and experience to recognize what's happening in the dialogue, recognizing when people are in their B state, their triggered state. What are the tells? How does it function? And how do we respond as a dialectician to bring the conversation back and introduce that, reinvite that A state of mind, open, curious reflection, friendly, together with a love of understanding. We've been asked to take all of those kinds of interpretations and rank them hierarchically. There's a puzzle. How does the pathologos play a role in our interpretation? Considering Jesus is saying, that's going to be at the bottom. I don't see it yet. Therefore, whether it's Jesus, John, Mark, or Socrates, what makes everyone the same is we are all on a quest to know the self, which may have two aspects, Cronos and Uranus and Cronos. But that Cronos is a necessary activity of the first cause to create the logos, which is the paradigm. That's even found in the Bible, the opening paragraphs of John. The first mole of creation contained the logos. It was with God. So therefore, we can understand the gods as the aspects of that paradigm, or pure mind, second hypothesis, and the God as its cause, the single God. Therefore, it's not about belief, it's about understanding. And the gods aren't literal, they're personifications of these principles and forces. If that's what brings everyone together, we all want to know the self, we all want our peak state of mind, we all want a mastery of our good functioning, providential functioning, understanding. In fact, it's necessary for us to reach our goal, the dialectic. If that's what makes us all the same, and the only difficulty that we face as human beings is our unsuspected pathologos beliefs that rule over our interpretation, just as the self rules over the logos. Our unsuspected pathologos beliefs that cause our interpretation, which manifests as that triggered state of mind, B state of mind, not triggered as in mad, as in rejecting the dialectic, rejecting understanding, rejecting all of your conclusions, rejecting all of the reasoning you've come to together, rejecting the true leader of, so it's all rejection. So maybe it does fit in this rejection side, ruled by the pathologos maybe. The rejecting of who should be ruling. So maybe we could find a way of linking it there. So rejecting, and so those are all of the rejections, and instead appealing to belief, appealing to Pathologos clan identity, appealing to the veneration of those Pathologos beliefs because God thinks so too. Concluding as always division and conflict. So division, conflict is an inevitable result of interpretation, which is appealing to beliefs and the veneration by identifying with clan or God. Literally. And all of that is the functioning of the Pathologos. So the Pathologos being triggered has tells negative state of mind, or I'll think about that later. I'm telling a story about myself instead of doing it. So we can, let's fucking do it. Why not? Let's put it into a structure. See if we can nail down these parts. So the conclusion, division, and conflict. The division in the functioning, there's all of the rejections, rejection of, dialectic method, our reasoning, our conclusions, actually let's go definitions, rejection of definitions, our rejections of what? Functioning, our rejections of our reasoned. I say that because definition, demonstration. What would be the demonstration that we reject? Division, that's easy. Rejection of our reasoning, rejection of our conclusions. So here, it's our 5, 4, 3. Wait. One, two, three, four of the dialectic and the ruling first term. Rejection of those things and instead a... So by the way, when you do division in your reasoning, you show what happens if it is or what happens if it isn't. Because if what happens with it when it isn't leads to an absurdity or a contradiction, you're saying, oh, then the thing must be true. Or if what happens when it is necessary and beautiful, then you've proven your point. Instead of appealing to who is leading? Who's leading the convo? The dialogue. Appealing to instead beliefs. Beliefs. Clan identity. What else? Catchphrases. Beliefs as evidence. Your own conclusions. Clan identity. Instead of reasoning, it's us versus them. Division and conflict was the conclusion. Already held beliefs or way of being as the conclusion. Beliefs as facts instead of definition. Instead of the dialectician leading the dialogue, them leading. So we could find a way of putting this together, but its conclusion is division and conflict. And what Jesus is saying is the original definition that causes definition and cause of interpretation is the pathologos. And we can see it as the tells that come up, the demonstration, the B state of mind, which we can see as putting it off. I'll have to think of it later. Putting it off. Jumping ahead. Oh, I don't like the conclusions that we might come to. Jumping ahead. Talking story about yourself. I'm the sort of person who, look, I seem to be really wondering, well, are you, or are you telling me that story about self? This would indicate they're in a certain state of mind, and that would cause these divisions. The divisions are themselves a dialectic. I don't know if these are the right ones, but there seems to be 5 rejections and 5 true, reflecting the hypotheses of Parmenides. And the conclusion is always division and conflict. So we're seeing how the pathologos manifests as interpretation. Now, what we're also saying is actually there might be more than just these conclusions that we saw from Jesus. We could actually say this manifests in 5 different ways, or 5 different intensities. Rejecting offering alternatives, adapting the new, unifying the old and new. So that way of being that we've just did a little dialectic on, I liked it because we really covered all the bases. Because division you can do too. Like, for example, do a dialectic on beauty. Okay, this is what beauty is. Oh, I'm not quite following. Oh, this is how it functions. This is how you see it. I still don't quite get it. Okay, let's reason through what happens if beauty doesn't exist to show that it has to exist. Or let's reason through the parts to show that it has to exist. So there's the two possibilities under the subcategory of division. And then conclusion, therefore, beauty exists. Or it doesn't, but it does. Now, isn't that interesting? Because this is the inverse of what Jesus just said. Hey, that's my insight because I've recognized that the true teaching is our ultimate goal. What we've been defining this whole time is the self. But there has to be a way of confirming it in your experience or state of mind. Usia. Our way of getting there is Apollo, the reading of texts. Reading of complete texts. Complete intelligible text. And you end up with a method called the dialectic as your conclusion. Dialectic is the conclusion. Now, how do we relate that back to self? Dialectic is necessary to reach the self. There's our other back to self. So we can say the self is Zeus, Usia, Aphrodite. Our reading, Apollo. And our conclusion that we reach in order to get Zeus, which gives us the functioning of Zeus, Hermes. And we can call these the elements of theology. True theology will fall into this basic dialectic. And why is this an insight for being able to hierarchically arrange the kinds of interpretation? That was the puzzle that we just been talking about. The goal, therefore, to return to the self through the elements of theology or dialectic allows you to, so there's our conclusion. We can see that our first cause isn't actually the self, it's the self logos. It's both, which may be the term that unifies the one, the good and true self. We can wonder about that because that's our puzzle from earlier. Therefore, the self logos is what we're after. That's what brings them together. That's what makes this work intelligible. It's a work about the self, using the self logos that allows for our own direct experience, Aphrodite or Usia, because it's something we can engage a reading of a complete intelligible work. That's Apollo, leading to our mastery of the dialectic Hermes, which is required for us to reach the final cause or go back to the self. How does that give us a understanding of the hierarchy of interpretation? Well, it must be the inverse. The root cause of our interpretation or our problems, pathologos, demonstrates as that B state of mind, and we've seen little tells that someone is in that B state of mind. When they're in that state of mind, how does it function other to others? either as a rejection of the actual Hermes or Apollo and appealing to beliefs, clan identity, us versus them, already held beliefs or ways of being justified. Non-arguments, belief-based arguments, and gish galloping. So you can fill out these better. Maybe you can find a more refined version. And as the significance of that, Jesus said, is it's something you won't forget. If you can do this dialectic, it's a bit messy here. Maybe I'm missing a bunch of things. You clean it up, you make it your own. It's the kind of learning you won't forget once you see it. And the conclusion, human division and conflict. This is the nature of human problems, individually and collectively. Its positive version, or its self-logos version, is the nature of our excellence, individually and collectively. That's the elements of theology. Zeus, Aphrodite, Apollo, and Hermes. And there seems to be a hierarchy, therefore, of the extent of this, from complete rejection of the logos and what was the word that he used? Introduction of pathologos. There's our rejection of the logos and introduction of the pathologos. That would be the top worst, or the ruling term within all interpretation. And then we can see a hierarchy develop of offering. This is what Socrates offered us, offering alternative beliefs. Did Jesus do that? Here are my alternative beliefs about the distinction between us, about what the gods mean. What were the other ones? Adapting the new to the old. Is Jesus doing that a little bit? Adapting the dialectic to actually pretending to be engaged in a dialectic in order to take over the conversation. Adapting the logos to pathologos. Offering alternative pathologos beliefs. Adapting the logos to the pathologos. Now, it might not necessarily be the pathologos itself, but we're using this to understand the root cause behind why we would want to be blocked. In other words, you might offer some alternative beliefs that might not be your literal pathologos beliefs. They might be in support of your pathologos beliefs, or they might function to block the logos which defends your pathologos beliefs. But this is the principle. Adapting the logos to the pathologos. What's the other one? Or trying to unify the two. Still holding on to your pathologos problems. Unify logos and pathologos. And finally, accept the logos and reject the pathologos would be the ideal. If the pathologos intrudes through interpretation. So even if we do find ourselves interpreting, that's what we're looking for, because we want to find that and learn about it so we can reject our own pathologos interpretations to learn or remove our problems. Which is fascinating, because if we go back to the hypotheses of Parmenides, we have the first hypothesis, which is the logos. We have the second and third, which are diminished versions of the logos in ousia and understanding. We have the fourth hypothesis, the appearance. And we have the fifth, which is rejecting. The fifth hypothesis is there is that function to reject the logos, especially if we don't include these negatives. So in the inverse way, we have the pathologos at the top, and the last category would be the rejection of it. Just as the fifth hypothesis rejects the self-logos, so too, the fifth interpretation is a rejection of interpretation pathologos. Which is fascinating. Because the next interpretation was offering alternative beliefs. Offering a fake model. The pathologos version of the second. The next was functioning in a way that takes the new and adds it to the old. Which is interesting, because the logos version is to follow the logos and use it to benefit by midwifery, removing the old. Not adding to the old, but removing the old. It's an inverse. The next would be trying to unify the two together. Others to others. As an inverse of the fourth hypothesis. Group unity in the physical world. Group unity as a group. Rejection is the last. Just like the fifth is a rejection. Fascinating. There's a way of understanding the complete rejection of the logos for the pathologos, and its diminishing versions of rejection as an inverse of the logos model of development. Is that what Jesus' insight was? Because he recognized that what was the same in their spiritual traditions is this dialectic. Our goal is the self-logos you could represent as Zeus, which is confirmed in your experience, which you might call Aphrodite, or the second hypothesis, that you get through the perfection of reading intelligible and complete texts, which is following Apollo, resulting in a mastery of the dialectic, which is the power of the logos, necessary for reaching the self. Well, haven't we seen a lot today? Isn't this book a goddamn banger? I hope you're having fun. If you are,
Fuck.
then
Jester goon maxed.
you are just a goon maxing.
Cookie maxing.
And also cookie maxing.
Do a poggers.
And you'll all do a poggers. And if you're not having fun,
Why can't these guys shut up, whether or not it's about Jesus?
then shut up, whether or not it's about Jesus. And also,
Fucking bitch pussy ass fucker.
Oh my god, it's a bit
They're
hard.
completely lying to you. They're completely lying.
All right, enough nonsense. Hope you're having fun. Wow, lots that we've seen, lots to wonder about. And if that's what makes us the same, we all ultimately seek the logos, seek the self-logos. Zeus, confirmed in our experience. Usia, Aphrodite, perfected through our understanding, Apollo, culminating in the ideal art we take back with us to the self, Hermes or dialectic, other back to self. And we all are the same in that the thing that prevents us from doing that is a various expressions of our pathologos through interpretation, which functions in a similar definition, demonstration, division way. But the definition is the pathologos idea of self. The demonstration is the negative states of mind. And of course, there are tells we can look for in our own dialogues. The division is a rejection of the of the dialectic method and appealing to an inverse of it, appealing to your own beliefs, etc. Again, clean this up. I'm sure there's a better way of nailing these things down, leading to a conclusion of division and conflict. The kind of division is manifested as these stages of interpretation, leading to the rejection of interpretation, which is fun. An inverse of those 5 hypotheses. So, fuck me. How good is that? Amazing. Isn't it amazing?
I'm joy maxing, okay? And if I aura mog you because I'm joy maxing so hard, that just sounds like your cortisol levels are spiking for no reason.
We enjoy maxing so hard and we're getting aura mogged by ourselves.
This is why I love this channel, man.
That one's perfect and exactly the case.
So, if that's what makes us the same, if that's how we do it, that's the game we're here to play, that's the nature of all human problems, a loyalty of our pathologos, unsuspected false beliefs that manifests as those 5 kinds of interpretation in that dialectical way, that's how we're all the same. And of course, that's how we can all come together in the ideal. Zeus, Aphrodite, Apollo, Hermes. Then what makes them different? What's the thing that Socrates still wants to talk about? Let's not forget how we're different. Find out next time.
People don't logic their way into stupid positions. They stupid their way into stupid positions.
That's why our pathologos we stupided our way into. So find out what the difference is next time. And I hope to see you then. Once again, you can join the Discord, you can donate to the channel, there's a link below. You can find a link to the text we've been reading below. And you can follow along on Twitch as well if you want to join the conversation live. And I'll see you in the next one. And then the sound. There we go.
I'm just asking for some gooner men.
For some gooner men.
Gooners.
See you next time, gooners. Sorry about the dumb sound drop.